Hello and welcome to Beyond the Win. We continue to celebrate Canada's champions who are converting their competitive achievements into community spirit and are helping to build Canada through the transformative power of sport. In this episode, we meet Paralympian Jeff Adams, who was inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame and received the Order of Sport in 2018. Some people are just born for sport. This is true of Jeff Adams. His passion for competition kept him in athletics for over 15 years, representing Canada at 6 Paralympic Games. He's an innovator and a businessman. After his sporting career ended, Jeff went on to be a spokesperson, journalist, and broadcaster. His current focus is on law and advocacy for people with disabilities. His goal is equality, not only in sport, but also in life. We'll speak with this determined and outspoken champion in just a moment. But first, here's Jeff's impressive athletic story. Jeff Adams, champion, innovator, pioneer. He showed the world that a wheelchair could be a chariot.
The race to the wire, and Jeff Adams is going to do it.
He wanted to be #1 in the world. There was no way he was going to start the race without having the mindset of winning.
He was one of the most focused athletes on the track and fearless.
What made him different from the other ones is that he always looked for what can I do better in order to get better, to be #1.
I know very few athletes that could deal with pressure and even enjoy the pressure.
As a 9-year-old in Brampton, Ontario, Jeff Adams loses the use of his legs as a side effect of treatment for cancer. But he never loses his love of sport and his determination to break the boundaries of prejudice and the tyranny of low expectations.
For Jeff, wheelchair racing was a pure sport, and the racing chair was just a piece of equipment. It had nothing to do with disability.
He was the guy that took it out of the shadows so people could recognize that the Paralympic athletes is equal to the Olympic athletes and training equally hard.
Beginning in the late 1980s, racing at distances that range from sprints to marathons, he dominates. 6-time world champion, 6 consecutive Paralympic Games, 13 medals including 3 gold. Jeff is unmistakable and flamboyant, the living emblem of possibility and pride.
He just belongs with the best athletes of Canada because of what he did, because of what he won in a very high-performance sport. The total of his performance themselves is amazing.
It's almost forgotten now that 15 years he dominated the wheelchair racing in track and road racing. And at the time, I think that he was the best, probably the best male Canadian athlete, period, for any sport.
As one of Canada's most prominent persons with a disability, he advocates passionately for inclusion and equality, and he proves it in his own life.
Jeff has done so much that you'll never track on a newspaper because he would tell someone, I'm training at 4, bring your chair and follow me. And he did that countless of times with many athletes, men and women of all levels. And he didn't need to talk about it. He didn't need to tweet about it. He just, he just does it.
Now he is a law student, aspiring to a career on the front lines of the battle for the equal rights of persons with a disability.
Having him as an athlete was a privilege for me. And it was also one of the greatest learning experiences because not all athletes you learn from, but him in particular, I learned a lot from.
He's been a mentor when I started wheelchair racing. He's been a peer when we were both winning. I think he's just one of those very few people we can call friends for life, and it's true. That's very, very precious, I think.
Jeff Adams has turned adversity to opportunity and found true sweetness reflected in gold. You know, athlete is only one way to describe Jeff Adams. He's also an innovator and an advocate. He's in Toronto. Post-career, athletic career, Jeff, you built and designed wheelchairs, icon chairs they were known as. You had a business. Why was it important for you to push the boundaries of people with disabilities in that way?
Well, I think the one thing that sport taught me, is that none of us get to our finish lines alone. We've all got teams that help us along the way. And as an athlete, I was always really fortunate to you get given things, right? They give you clothes and they give you equipment, they give you technology. And I was always aware of how lucky I was to be given this stuff. And I wanted to try to use some of that, take some of that technology, some of the understanding and knowledge that I had and give it back to people who needed it. And the equipment that I used as an athlete, the wheelchairs that I had really made a difference in my performance and in my life. And so we tried to take some of that technology and apply it to everyday wheelchairs and give it to people, let them have that technology to try and make the most of their lives and have them win, the competitions of their life.
Okay, so now you're embarking on a third career as a lawyer, soon to be licensed. What was it about your career as a Paralympian that led you down that path?
Well, one of the first experiences I had with, being close to law happened at Paralympic Games, where you'll probably remember this in Sydney, where Chantal Petitclerc won the 800 meters. There was a crash in the race. There was a protest of the race, and there was a question about whether the race was going to be rerun or not. And Fasken, the law firm that I'm working with currently, had a lawyer on site to help out the Canadian team. And so he took it upon himself, this guy, a lawyer named Marc-André Fabien, took it upon himself to challenge that protest in front of the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And so he took on the case and in 12 hours turned it around, argued Chantal's side to the Court of Arbitration, won the hearing, and she was able to keep her medal. And so, and Chantal and I both sort of collaborated with Marc-André to give him explain the rules of the track to him in these, in this very short period of time he had to get ready. And, the fact that he had applied the law was just so good. The advocacy that he demonstrated, Chantal will say it herself, and she said it, that, that medal is part his. And so that was my first real up close exposure to the law. And it made me really aware of how powerful it could be and the good that it can do. And so that was sort of the genesis of my brother's a lawyer, my uncles and aunts are lawyers, so it kind of runs in the family too. But that was the first time I had a up close taste of how powerful law could be.
Did sport give you those foundational skills to be able to succeed in the various aspects of your life?
Yeah, 100%. And what I said earlier, none of us cross our finish lines. None of us get to our finish lines alone. As an individual athlete, it often looks as if you're out there alone, but you've got your coach and your trainers and your teammates and your training partners and your physios and, all of the people who contribute to getting you ready for that performance. And then, in my business life, I took that mentality. You get the best coach you can get, you get the best trainers you can get, but you surround yourself with excellence. And you do the same thing in business. And you get the best CA you can get the best engineers you can get, and you surround yourself with these people. And in the same way as in sport, if you don't trust your coach, if you don't listen to your coach, you might as well not have one. And so, in business, you do the same thing. You assemble, you surround yourself with the best team you can, and then you trust them and you listen to them. And so, these skills and these learnings, the lessons that you learn through sport are so applicable and so transferable. They have been, in any case, to everything that I've done in life.
We've talked about this before, Jeff, and sometimes even argued about it. But there are a lot of people that would, on the surface, say, hey, you're an inspirational character. How do you react to that now in hindsight and upon reflection?
I still push back, with that expression, because I just never tried to be. I think it's great if people can take inspiration from the people around them, and if I'm one of them, that's wonderful. and I don't know, maybe it's just a personal thing I have with because I do find inspiration around me all the time in the people that surround me. So I don't know, maybe I'm gaining a little bit of perspective as I grow into myself. But and I just want to point out that I won every single one of those arguments against you.
Hey, Jeff, I want to say it's been great to follow your career, and I wish you all the best in your next adventure.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thanks for having me on.